All right, folks. So this is going to be a very special episode of It's a Wrap, right? So what I will say, just for those who are new to this podcast and new to this channel here, right? This is going to be akin to how we normally, like, I should say, how we used to do our episodes of BS Beats and Bailey, which was the first incarnation of this podcast, right? Where
Right.
basically we just have sections and we just talk about a whole bunch of stuff, right? So in this case, we're going to start off with some video game reviews, courtesy of Ricardo here. Afterwards, we'll talk about some trailers, and then we will close with a particular topic that, I wasn't sure if, if it was worth talking about, but, off air, prior to us meeting up online, you, Ricardo,
Right.
said, it would be cool if we talk about that. And, now that I think about it, it's like, yes, what I mean? I think it would be great if we talk about, the recent appearance of the very popular American YouTuber and I should say content creator and influencer
Right.
iShowSpeed. He actually came to our shows on Saturday time of us recorded this. Also, he basically was stationed in Port of Spain, right? And it was just
Right.
this 5.5 hour live stream of him just all over Port of Spain, right? But is the discourse that is surrounding his appearance that is very interesting, and I have my own perspective on it, and I know you who probably knew this guy long before I did, right? Have some stuff to say about it, right? So we'll close off this episode with that, right? But yeah, as we
Right.
begin, right? So Ricardo, you have a couple of games to talk about. So the first one being Pragmata. You actually finished this game up a few days ago, and there's one that I believe you started, Mouse PI. If I got the full,
Right.
well, you know the name of the, you know the name of
Most PI for hire. Right.
Mouse PI for hire. Sorry about that. Yeah, right. So you can talk about that afterwards, right? And then we'll jump into the trailer stuff and then the iShowSpeed stuff, right? So yeah, Ricardo, take it away. Pragmata. What I will say, just quick preamble. All I know about this game is just off of a review that I saw on RogerEbert.com. This guy who absolutely loves the game, right? He called
Right.
it one of the best, or I should say, a great dad game, or one of the best dad
Right.
games to come out, right?
Right.
So yeah, that have me intrigued though. But you said you wanted to talk about it, so I'm gonna shut up now. Say, Ricardo, take it away. Talk about Pragmata, and then you can move to Mouse PI for hire.
Right. So this was a nice game that was. I keep hearing about it. Look okay. It was pretty interesting. So I tried out the demo, and then I got quite surprised at how well optimized it was. I'm like, all right, cool. It's if we rule of thumb, I just use my little crappy my little HP Papillon laptop that was kind of interesting like 5 years ago. But the good thing as you saw about this laptop is that if a game could run reasonably well on this, that's a good sign of how well optimized it is, right? Especially in the big 2006 when everybody kind of struggling for RAM and not building up machines and these kind of things, and that seemed to be the situation for a little while for now, especially with all this AI chicanery. Right. So I use that as a reference point. You don't need a big super machine to run this, and it runs reasonably well. So it's well optimized in that sense. But yeah, so this game is a nice, interesting shooter. It has a nice little like double puzzle concept involved in as a shooter. So what it is, it really feels like one of those great shooters from like the PS3 era, or those games that actually felt like finished games, right? And yeah, Capcom kind of cook with this, right? This could easily make a best of the year with respect to that, right? Basically, you play this guy on the moon. You found this girl who's like a robot, and the whole thing is that she what she could do is she could hack robots. So what she does, you use her as a mechanism to weaken enemies, and then it makes your guns easier to shoot. Because if you don't use her hacking ability to make the enemies weaker, the shooting is be a lot harder. That's it. Simple mechanic. But what you have to do is kind of solve a little quick puzzle to do the hack, like a little mini game. It's basically similar to if you remember our old game for MS DOS. Yeah, this is how old I am, right? Pipe Dream, right? It's that. It's pretty much that. So it's just this little setting. You have to go in the future. You're on the moon, and you have to basically solve a problem. And basically you find this little girl. She's like a little robot called Diana. Where's your character name? Hugh, right? And you basically do all you have to like go through the levels and cut through, solve a bunch of puzzles, those simple puzzles, bosses, and then they have simple systems of back and forth. In terms of the camera, it's like a over the shoulder Gears of War style camera. It kind of reminds me of a game I played. It visually it slightly reminds me of that game I played last year. Oh gosh, oh yeah, Chronos, the New Dawn. That is what the game reminds me of. Um, yeah, but it's just a nice little shooter. It's simple character. The characters bounce off each other. It's nice. Don't want to talk about this, but as I suppose I would mention, I found out after the fact that it have a very, 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 very troublesome online community involving the, as fans of the little girl. And yes, because she's a little girl and people going out of the way to like put art that's not safe for work for her. Like, all right, just throw all those people in the jail, right? Throw them under the jail, right? So I was really, really unfortunate because, well, the piece of news I was kind of interested about that, unfortunately, is that Capcom, I think by accident, put up something that was reminiscent of that online culture. So you can look that up. Is really unfortunate stuff. Yeah, don't look up the
Okay.
actual. Don't look up the actual art. Look up the news, right? But
Right, right.
that's
I understand. Yeah.
right. But that is unfortunate. I read this after the fact and I said, oh, so this connected to this franchise. It's so okay. Again, throw all these people under the jail, right? But yeah, that's about it. The game is really well made. Again, what I appreciate with Capcom, and this can make a game of the year, is that yeah, Capcom just made a really well optimized, accessible game. Like hey, you could do this instead of having these poorly optimized, bulky nonsense games that just require insane amount of RAM or whatever it is and your super PC to run. Like no, you could just like take your time and optimize the fucking game. Like please do that. Um, quick shout out to the people at Koei Tecmo because they actually like making that happen for Neo 3. Like when Neo 3 launched, it was really poorly optimized, and then it's a little better now. Then it's supposed to have, well, at the time it's recording, it's supposed to have somewhat big medium-sized update coming tomorrow that should fix a lot of the problems. Because actually one thing that I really loved about Neo as well, I had to figure out a way to put Neo in the conversation, right? Uh, is how well optimized it is. That's my quick thing. Good optimization is like really go a long way for making a game. It's one of the reasons why Kazan was so well appreciated last year. Stuff like that. Anyway, Pragmata. It's a really solid story. Good voice acting and work. I had it in Japanese, so it was good. Nice little good mechanic that really works. Right. It wasn't too long for me in and out. Simple shooter mechanic. They keep it special. They keep the weapon special. You upgrade and you make it work. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. Again, I think it could make a more like the guy mentioned for me, but I think it could probably like actually get like real awards. Like it was really solid for me. And yeah. Props to Capcom. Capcom actually cook here, right? Yeah, we seem to things looking okay for the gaming community in a couple small ways, right? Because like Xbox, the Xbox have a new CEO, and she like kind of amazing. Like Asha, what's her name? Asha something. Um, she basically like this. Like, she actually dropped the price on something. Well, stuff like that. Like things looking up. Small things. But yeah, just worth mentioning. Yeah, rated 9 out of 10. Loved it. So nice about it. Then the second game, this is another really special one. Looking forward for this one for a while. Mouse PI for Hire. This is nice and weird. It's a first-person shooter that you're playing with animals and creatures, but also it's all rubber hose animation stuff, a la Cuphead. And this is really really cool and weird. It's a little on the gimmicky end of thing, but it does a lot right. Mostly because one, the music is great. Two, the combat is the weakest part of this, but that's fine. It's a simple shooter. And then the third thing is the story. It's just a great little gumshoe detective story, noir thriller type. And they make it work. You have to go and collect clues, but you have to go and fight. And it's very Dick Tracy-esque in that way, and this one's sticking with me as well. I feel I'm gonna love this for a while. I didn't expect to enjoy this as much as I think. I thought it would just be on the whole Jesse the gimmick of it, but it's great. Great gameplay is solid. Rubber Hose aesthetic and the stories do the heavy lifting to be sure. But I didn't expect to enjoy this one. This one I also strongly recommend. I only finished about I only started it just started, so only about 30% of the way of the game. So that's about it. But so far, really really enjoying what it is. Solid stuff. Just really, really good. Again, runs well on my crap computer. So because the nature of the game is not some big beast game, but yeah, you could do that without having some big set of RAM or anything like that into this game in there. Which I find kind of ridiculous that we had to worry about precision games and how game design is. Yeah, like I said, just two recommended games. I give this one a 7 out of 10. Solid outing as well. Just we're talking about not don't want to spend too much time on the guide finish games, but that's about it. So yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the trailer, right? And
Oh,
no, we're not gonna get too in depth with it. We much rather see the film for ourselves, and then we
right.
could get real in depth, right? And I just saying, as somebody who saw the full thing twice and just watch a few reactions, I absolutely digging the vibe of this, right? It is goofy, silly, over the top stuff, but given what we have gotten in the past and given the material itself, I know, when you say, oh, but the material is like this, and, that'll like piss off some die-hard fans, right? But I'm sorry, this is kind of like the approach that we need, right? Very self-aware, very stylized, very over the top, right? That's what it is, right? There's only the second time that I watch it that it sort of dawned on me how it actually kind of makes sense. It's kind of a smart call. I know that'll be an issue for some diehard fans, but in this case, it actually makes sense. Yeah, making Ken be the main character, the protagonist here, right? Showing him as like this washed up like martial artist, this big star. It was cool seeing the old school MTV logo and him doing like this sort of like a Cribs thing. That was
Right.
that was kind of interesting there. But just the mere fact that the story centers on him, right? I don't want to
Right.
think that him getting his ass washed by Balrog of all people, was the reason why his career went to shit. I don't think so,
Right.
but I think that was one of the moments. It's kind of funny that this is again Balrog being played by 50 Cent, right? One punch,
Right.
blow, and that's it. But
Yeah, but Balrog goated in. I mean,
I
I
know, I
prefer. I
know.
mean, I prefer Dudley to be fair, but like Balrog up there.
Yeah, he is, right? Yeah, but yeah, it kind of makes sense centering on him, right? Because this is Americanized, Street Fighter, right? If this
Right.
was like a Japanese, version, then Ryu would have been like the main star, right?
Right.
But yeah, Ken is washed up.
I mean, there was centered Guile to be fair, the American stuff.
All right, that's true. And
Centered Ken is always a good call to trade it off. Because
yeah,
to me, I always felt if you're always centered in a Street Fighter character, it should be a Shotokan character, in my humble opinion. That's why I thought it was a mistake centering Alex in Street Fighter 3 back in the days. It should have been Sean, in my humble opinion. And if
yeah,
you or in the Alpha games, you center on what's her name, Sakura.
right.
It had to be a Shotokan character, in my humble opinion. But whatever,
Right.
it's fine.
And well, speaking of the '94 Street Fighter movie, right? Which we
Right.
which we did cover, for its anniversary, right? Yeah. Not centering it on Guile makes a lot of sense, right? Because sorry to say, but Ken and Ryu are like the two standout characters. These are the two
Exactly.
most
It
popular
starts in
characters
the
anyway,
story.
right?
It's like Scorpion and Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat is the most popular characters by far.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So he's washed up. Ryu had to be the one to catch get him back on track. Nice little fight scene that takes place in his apartment. That was kind of cool. And then it's like, oh, big tournament stuff, right? You don't really get much of what the tournament is about, and in particular, what M Bison is up to. But M Bison is up to no good, even though you don't see much of him in this trailer. But that's fine, right? Not too sure how Kami and Chun-Li are going to be incorporated, what their roles are going to be in this movie. I do like the little joke where Kami point out, the thickness of Chun-Li's legs, right? It's
Right,
just
right, right.
with the just nitpick. Sound design wise, I couldn't pick up on what the remark was that Chun-Li got. I guess if upon the closed caption, I would actually understand what she said. It was just so muddled. I didn't really catch what she was saying at all, right? And that's when all the action stuff really started happening anyway, right? But yeah, for me at the end of the day, this was just so over the top. Just it's so funny that they use this song. Oh gosh, what's going on? Which is
Right.
funny because that song, well, the '90s remix was in the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem film, and in that context, it was
Right.
funny. They actually worked the original song into a Cardi B song from the album from last year. So I don't know, like that song getting like this resurgence over the past couple of years, though. But
Right.
anyway, the point is just to get to the hey yeah point, right? So yes, when it gets to that moment, yes, it's just all this over the top stuff and explosions and kicks and punches.
And then they do like a AI Tupac. That was AI.
Good thing you bring this up, huh? Good thing you bring this up. Good thing you remind me about
Right.
this, right? Not a nitpick. Alright, so I am speaking as somebody who loves All Eyes on Me, right? Still one of the best double albums ever made. Sure, it have filler, but the filler great, right? The filler knocks, right? I don't care. The filler knocks. I did not need the ambition as a writer interpolation. So the
Right.
original version is I won't deny it. I'm a straight rider. I did not need I
Right.
won't deny it. I'm a street fighter. I
Right.
could
Right. Right.
tell. You could tell. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
It get lame here.
So I'm not gonna spend too much time on this,
So
folks.
I already know that song. I already know that. I already know that rhythm through Fabulous and
And Neat
NATO.
Dog, right? Yes,
Right.
yes, yes. Can't deny it. Yes, you're absolutely right, right? I was careful not to say, "Oh, blasphemy! How dare you take a Tupac lyric and AI it? How dare you? Did you see what Drake did
Right.
back in
Yeah.
2024? The blasphemer?
Right.
No, 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 no. I didn't do that, right? I was charitable, right? On one hand, it could very well be that they just rework some of his vocals to make it like they pull a line, they pull a word, and they just mix it in such a way that it
Right.
sounds like Street Fighter, you know? Like they did it with,
Yeah.
Biggie's
It's,
lyrics in the
like
in
how
the past. They did it in the
like how
past. Hmm.
like how they do with Jade Dilla, which is like in terms of or what's this one?
No,
The
you mean
auditorium.
MF Doom?
No, auditorium. Who did who's it? Auditorium. Say
Oh
say
gosh, or Pete Rock.
Pete Rock,
Yeah,
right? Like how Pete
I
Rock
was
does
thinking
that.
it was a
Right.
fortunate that that's the track on the album that we love. I was
Right.
thinking it was a fortunate scenario where it's the we hearing Street Fighter,
Right.
but it's
The
actually Street
auditory
Rider.
illusion. You're
Yeah.
creating the auditory illusion.
Yeah, but no, it's Street Fighter. That's what said Street Fighter, right? So on
Right.
the one hand, it could be words that they just work like bits of vocals that Tupac himself recorded, and they just work it into it sounds like Street Fighter, right? Or it could very well be AI generated. I think it's the latter, but hear him out here. I have a strong feeling that the kind folks at Paramount, who has been down with hip hop for a long time, I would say not just with Mutant Heat Mayhem, but also with our last Transformers movie. Not Transformers 1, but the last Transformers live action movie. 'Cause there was a lot of 90s hip hop in it too. So I know Paramount fucks
Right.
with hip hop, right? They fucks with hip hop, right? But I feel they'll play Ambitions as a rider in the movie itself, the original version. Of course, they had to censor it because it's like, you don't want to fuck with me. So they had to censor it
Right.
because there are kids in the audience, right? I have a feeling that's what they'll do. If they don't, well, they'll just be like, yeah, why put this song in the first place if you're not even going to use it in the actual movie? I think the biggest takeaway from all of this, right, before we get to your thoughts, is that we make it to a year where we have a Mortal Kombat and a Street Fighter movie doing battle, Basically, don't mind the release dates is months apart, right? But still, it's a fight for over like box office dominance, And I'm real excited to see who comes out the victor, boy. But I want both these films to be good. I want them to be good, especially Street Fighter, because yes, I was entertained as all hell by this trailer for Street Fighter. It had me pumped up. I was like, yes, yes, I want to see people react to it. I want to talk about this, right? So I think I talked long enough about this trailer here, right? But yeah, Ricardo, your thoughts on the trailer, stuff that wow you, stuff that how you're like, how you feel this movie will play out like in the box office and whatnot.
Yeah, I still have no clue, to be honest. I really, really don't know. Where they're going with it, how it could. As I say, it could feel kind of strange as its concession, because they have to like lead into the culture stuff, which is a good thing with video games, but they had to lead into what does make the games popular and work, but at the same time you had to balance it. And I get into this argument before with respect to we kind of done with the whole realism thing, right? Them days done, I think, we long past that. So you had to lean into the goofiness, but don't have it feel too cheap either. Kind of also, I don't know. You had to balance it because we long past the realism stuff, right? So don't try to be realistic. We're not doing that. We're not trying to like make it make sense or anything like that. Try to be just vibes and how to make that work. And get into like the general culture of it. Like I don't know, as I say, you had to do a Daigo. They had to do a Daigo scene. If Ken is the star, they had to do a Daigo thing. They had to. Like you had to look that up, it is. Should try the tree. So there's that. So I don't know.
All right, so moving from Street Fighter now, let's touch quickly on a couple of Warner Brothers trailers that came out a few days ago. Time of us recording this, right? The first being Coyote versus Acme, right? This was
Right?
one that was hyped up in terms of the trailer drop or whatnot, right? All
Right.
I'll say though, with all the hype aside and this thing was shelved for reasons, blah blah. at the moment, I am wondering why this thing was even shelved in the first place. Well,
Right,
I'll put it like this: like the show could be bad, and maybe the reason why it was shelved is, despite its brilliant premise, the show could be trash, right? I hope that's not the
right.
case, right? But from what I'm seeing here, this looks like it's just a brilliant idea, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This basically taking the Looney Tunes and contextualizing them into this legal drama, basically, right?
Right.
And
I know. I when I first heard this pitch, I was like, oh, nice, like the funniest thing ever. Do like if you could really do something brilliant with that.
yes,
And
yes.
then to hear it get shelved as well. I think it was shelved for a while. Like I think since right after the big merger with Ting and Zaslav took over. So I think it was him. Like it's the same reason why I think why we'll never see the Batgirl movie, right? It's that you had a finished movie and they just like cut it off for tax reasons, from what I understand, or something like that. I forget the exact details. So you could have bought it, or it was up for sale, or something like that. Because I think Netflix could have gotten it. And I remember one of those podcasters was making a joke that we could have buy this. And like, oh, you could buy this? Like, where you mean by that? Like, it was really up for sale for like, or something like that. I forget the exact details, but so it's that. And I really wanted to see they make a lot of great jokes with this one, Joe, because it's so like shockingly meta and prescient
Yes, yes.
and and,
Hmm.
and like timely with the whole thing there. Because they made a great joke like we recorded what today's 26, right? The middle of April is tax day in the States, and on tax day they made a great joke about that. And in the
Hmm.
same Coyote people, you can find the post and it's the Coyote show holding up a sign, involving tax day. And he hold up the classic, oh shit, I could get sold off, like making usually when you put the sign up, is he in danger? And I thought it was such a funny bit and so clever. They really like the rise to the occasion. Quick mention, I don't talk about this. This is a side thing. Like it make it funny, like how even the Onion come back because like Tim Heidecker not bought, but he's in charge of the Onion now because Onion bought out Alex Jones thing. Maybe because Alex Jones' whole thing had to go belly up and bankrupt. I don't know if there's the exact details of how the money passing, but like it's
That's not
basically
you,
that.
you're talking about the documentary, the one that you added to your best stuff. You talking about
No.
that?
Like
Oh,
no. Like the Onion. No, not that. Right. Onion bought, I think Onion kind of not bought, or I think they're in charge of Alex Jones's thing. Alex Jones have his famous what is up again thing. His famous brand now that got sold off or he went bankrupt because of the lawsuit. He had this big lawsuit involving the kids who got shot, and he keep doubling down about that. It's a whole thing. But whatever, it just stuff funny now, and Tim Heidecker is in charge of really funny stuff, and so I want to see where they're going to go in terms of writing. I don't know. It just overlap with stuff that actually feeling funny and actually clever at the same time. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. So it's just that. Anyway, with respect to this, good stuff,
mm-hmm.
making it work.
Yeah,
I just really excited for this. The trailer is great. Like they just
agreed.
show hint at things. They basically mostly like played it like in the old sense of the whole corporate shenanigans espionage stuff. So very Erin Brockovich,
Yes.
very we call it by
All the President's Men. It
all
has
the
a
President's
feel to
Men,
it
right,
too.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because like they have Bugs Bunny as the deep throat figure, which is really funny. Like, okay, that's the
Yes.
obvious you'll do that. No, what is my Acme? No
Yeah,
Acme,
Acme,
Acme.
no you. That's
No,
brilliant.
that's funny. That's really
That's
funny.
funny. That's funny. Yeah.
And then they play Foghorn like one as a villain. That is really funny because he's like a certain gentleman. Okay,
Oh,
that
and
makes sense.
you
Like,
know who he
yeah,
remind me of? I forgot the guy's name. Right, he's the villain from Chinatown. Right, the billionaire
right,
who.
right, right,
Right,
right,
right.
right, right,
He
right,
remind me
right.
of
Yeah, that's right.
that
Yeah,
real shady southern guy.
yeah,
He's that.
right, and right. And speaking of Chinatown, well, not even that, but they could, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's the
yes.
last time we had a straight up crime strip type vibe with cartoons. Like, yeah, this have some potential. This have like what we see in this trailer. It was really, really like looking really promising. And I thought it was a funny press, but I thought they were not doing it like a modern sense, but like they played it in the classic film sense. They make it work. What was the last like Warner Brothers thing we had the other day? Boy, that was slipping my mind right
Then
now.
the
What was the
one with
last movie?
the alien invasion something.
Yeah. You're right. It's the day Earth blew up. That came out last year. Porky and Daffy.
Right, yeah. Which
Yeah,
I didn't
right,
get a
right,
chance
right.
to see unfortunately because it wasn't
You're
out on
correct
the
with
show.
alien stuff.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
But
right. Right. Yeah, well, I saw that. It came out. Well, it kind of came out. I didn't think it was that funny.
oh, okay. But yeah,
Right.
I am thoroughly impressed by this trailer as well too. It's doing the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but in particular also the Space Jam thing, and I like that Looney
Right.
Tunes is, was always and is still in this creative space where they could incorporate live action and animation in a very
Right.
creative, in a very like interesting way, right?
Right.
It's taking the Looney Tunes physics that we know. So in this case, animated things smashing into each other. So like this great shot where you see like a animated piano falling on this guy's car, right? So stuff like that.
Right.
Now, what they show, like seeing it for myself, seeing the trailer for myself, I feel that this could be this year's Barbie. Something that is like,
I know
on
about that,
paper,
but
this
yeah.
kind of weird, but like when you think about it,
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. Well, I mean, like just
Right.
taking something that is childlike, right, or childish, and putting it in the real world and seeing how it exists, how what would happen if, wow, me and this animated coyote goes to court, right? It's taking that, right? But also just like Barbie, I feel like this will also be like winking at the camera, doing a lot of meta
Right.
jokes and all that kind of stuff. That's why I say it could be like this year's Barbie in the
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
of
yeah, it could be,
how it's
right, but
framed, how the
yeah,
story
it
is presented.
yeah, yeah, because you can't go wrong once you mix classical humor with modern stuff, and you really make it
Yeah.
relevant. Like make it work, make it relevant. That's the whole important thing. Nobody's saying that you had to be the new thing. Don't try to be the new thing, right? Don't try to be that. Just do classic humor, the classic timing. Look, I still to this day I find Tex Avery and them is like still some of my favorite comedy guys. Like it just
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
sheer
yeah.
comedy. Yeah, that's the sheer comedy timing of everything. Just make it work. But you had to make it
Hmm.
relevant, right? Because like they were relevant. They were the weird like offbeat types at the time. They weren't Disney, you know. Remember that Warner Brothers was the alternative to Disney, right?
Yes.
They were we're gonna make a chubby checker joke or something like that,
Hmm.
right? That's it. Like, but so just make that and keep it fresh, keep it actually fresh. Like, you don't have to talk. Like, look, we big hardback millennials. We are a little too old for it. But like, if you could make something for Gen Z, something, right? Don't try to be thing and time it well and yeah, make it work. Yeah, as I say, the day it blew up, came out. I thought that was okay, but it just kind of fell flat. But this looking good. This looking real good.
Agreed. And I'll close
Yeah.
this. I will be very, 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 very disappointed if this show doesn't fully capitalize on its own conceit, on its own premise, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't want to say it's a foolproof success. Like, there's no
Right.
way that the show could fail. But then again, it was shelved. So,
Right.
a lot of people gonna go into this like, maybe the show was shelved because it was like too bad, like terrible, right? But I hope that is not the case. Again, I really want this show to really be good because it has a great premise here, right? And last but not least, when it comes to trailers, now, just a few hours after we got the Coyote versus Acme trailer, we got the first teaser for Clayface, right? And I must
Right.
say that as a fan of body horror and one who actually ranked the substance, when we did our when we did our second season of Six Reels Deep, I ranked the substance as my favorite horror
Right.
movie the past 25 years. I had a broad smile on my face. I was like, yes, this is the perfect approach, right? So to me,
Yeah.
I love the fact that this is basically the DCU doing its own Joker, where it's like, okay, we're gonna take this character from the Batman universe, and we're gonna give him his own story.
Well,
It's,
the
I'm
thing
not sure if
is,
it's in Gotham. Probably.
yeah, no,
Huh?
no. Well, it is in Gotham, but the thing is, this was still part of the same continuity as like Superman and things. So like a lot of people like nitpicking. Well, I don't think it's not nitpick, but it's like a notable observation. It's like, oh, this is the same guy from we call it by Creature Commandos. Is that the same guy? He's like, yeah, apparently it is the same dude.
Oh, okay.
So it's
I
like,
didn't I
it's
didn't
a,
think of that.
yeah, it don't feel like tonally it feels a little too different. That's one of the problems with the DCU. That tonally it don't feel the same. Like Frank Grillo in Creature Commandos don't feel like Frank Grillo character from
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Right, and like, I mean, I suppose, but it's like these two characters was the same thing. It's supposed to be the same character because this is a prequel. This is happening before the events, right? Before all the other events, right? So
Oh,
it's like how the guy became. Here's a flashback movie, right? How he became Clayface. Cool. Supposed to be the same person, as far as I know.
yeah.
Supposed to be.
All right.
But this is the thing that people always wanted for the Matt Reeves version. Like
Right.
you get something real grounded and dark, and like how you gonna make somebody like Clayface work? Like because Cliff is not a realistic character. How are you gonna make it work? What are you gonna do? And yeah, just a straight like terrifying body horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted this like for a hot minute, but they wanted to see if they're gonna bring Batman in, if we're gonna see a live action on Batman, so and so. but as it is, it's looking real good. Real
Agreed,
good. Like
agreed,
I was
agreed.
so impressed with this trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as the presentation, very simple to the point. One of my friends actually pointed out that just that shot of the character on the bed with the bandages on his face, very reminiscent of when you see Aaron Eckhart as Two Face, right? That one scene
Right.
where he was in
Yeah.
the hospital in the
True.
Dark Knight. I was like, I didn't pick up
True.
on that.
Yeah.
Holy shit, right?
Yeah.
But
A little bit. Yeah.
it's simple. You've seen it time and time again with horror films and whatnot. Yeah, the slow zoom into the face and then the rapid cuts of all the like different disoriented
And
shots. You've seen that before, but it's
yeah,
so well done here, very effective here. I'm not familiar with the song. I wish I knew what it was, but it's trailer eyes in the sense that it's a familiar song, I guess, but
right.
it's done in a very dark and ominous way, and that's how it builds and builds and builds, and then you're just seeing all this weird stuff, and yeah, it just absolutely works, right? And last but not least,
Right.
the moment that brought me a lot of joy is the release date to October 23rd.
Right.
So I'm just calling this out here.
Yeah.
If I am lucky enough to see this in theaters in time, I want to close off the finale. I want the finale of Six Reels Deep to be about Clayface. I mean, why not, man? Like I want to see a DC movie for Halloween, man. I
Yep.
mean, come on. Like right after
Oh,
we
yeah.
enjoy ourselves with Street Fighter, then we could
Right.
watch Clayface. I mean, come on. Is a steal of a deal, right? So that's what I had to
No,
say.
was just surprised at this. Well, the one thing it reminded me of is that, well, the both animated series, there are two animated series that nail Clayface. It's two different takes, but it's two good takes on Clayface, in my opinion. The first is, well, of course, Batman the animated series, the classic of classics. I thought that had a great Clayface arc and multiple episodes that had some, like, truly terrifying, like, episodes. Like, you have that one where, like, the one with Clayface himself, his origin, look great. Great animation, that morphing technique and thing. Then everybody ever see the one where Clayface make like a fake girl that he used to try to like solve a problem for him, and then the girl had to be destroyed, but she's like almost like a conscious entity until her own. It's like, wait, is she really a daughter or something like that? And it was kind of fucked up because she had to die, and that feel like some real like
I need to
anime.
look for that. That was
Yeah,
in the animated series, right?
yeah, it was Batman the Animated, but I
Okay.
think it was the new Batman and Superman Adventures. It was after, like it was when
Oh,
they
all right.
changed the art style
Hmm.
and they changed the art style and everything. So like that's when Captain Marvel looked different and Joker looked different and Robin looked a little different too. Is that? And they get a younger Robin. That was the Tim Drake Robin. But it that feel like some real Akira thing. It looked real weird and it was kind of messed up. And it was like a terrified episode. That was that. And then the Batman. That was the mid 2000s Batman show, which I didn't
I
love, but
defend that show. I like that
yeah,
show.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It did a lot right, but it did Clayface arc really well. Like who was Clayface when they find out who it was and what it did with him? I was like, oh, they kind of cook here though, and they did some really solid body horror stuff in that show. They're like, oh shit, this is what they do with the Clayface. I would. I thought that was a great take. Go back and watch it. There's great stuff, and it like that. But that
I'll
last shot,
watch it. I'll watch it. And in
yeah,
particular,
what that last shot,
I know the Batman have a more kid friendly style to things compared to the
right,
original to the animated series. But I really
right.
want to see how they treated that Clayface character. I know I'll enjoy
Right.
that.
It was really good stuff. And then the last shot with Ting, where you see Clayface just wipe his face and just look like this blank smattering or clay on that thing. And like, oh,
I love that.
yeah, they cooking here. This looking and it look great. Like I'm watching these special effects, it's like, all right, this is looking damn good. Like, yeah. So super excited for this. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's touch on iShowSpeed for a bit, right? Let us,
No,
sons of the soil, talk about what went down, right? So yeah, Saturday, as in, last Saturday time of us recording this, iShowSpeed, popped up in Trinidad as, for his Caribbean tour right now, right? So at the time of us recording this,
correct.
he is in Grenada right now. Last I checked on YouTube, he was doing some scuba diving.
Okay.
It's kind of cool that he had a cameraman there, filming everything. I don't think homie was holding some GoPro or something like that. If he did, okay, cool.
Well,
But
yeah, he does.
you know,
You at least have the little thing, the thing walking around. But yeah, he does have like what I like about it is how well organized his little operation is. Is a simple operation. It's in and out. I was familiar with him enough until he did the China tour, and I thought that was really, really well done and fun. Like what he did there, with China. I was like,
oh,
all right,
okay.
kind of
So he does worldwide tours. Okay,
yeah,
that I
yeah,
didn't know of. I didn't know of. Yeah.
right. Like we're kind of the last set because I really thought what I thought he would have done. I really thought he was going to go to Brazil, and I don't know if he went to Brazil before. He probably did, but I was like, okay. When I heard the announcing competition, I know like all of the local, top influencers and talents. I'll mention something with respect to that. But I know all of them gonna find themselves here. All these people gonna in the background who gonna show up, who gonna be there, and I see everywhere all these videos you see on TikTok the day. But like the one person who like kind of step up to run everything for iShowSpeed, yeah, Junior Lee, boy, shout
Junior
out to
Lee,
Junior Lee.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Alright, so I'm not familiar with the guy, but yeah, he popped up right early, like in the early, like first hour
right,
when he was on Traggart Road, where it's
right,
close to where I work actually. So if they had just
right,
turn a
right.
corner and the next corner, you would have seen my workplace, right? But whatever. But yeah,
But he
he
was
show up and you just saying like, look, welcome to Trinidad. Let me give you a tour. Let me show you this and that.
right.
So he coming at
No,
the
and
right
then
time.
again, the whole situation, yeah, the whole situation is pretty curated. But what how it is, it nails the randomness as well. Like that at the end, the randomness aesthetic is really well done. And but how they control the crowd, how they keep things in check. You get to see stuff up close, like how the operation is, and it's kind of remind me a little bit of like when Beyonce came down. And you get to see the operation up close. Like how they just do this so well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just make it really well. It's like yeah, they have a real organized team. You have a nice organized set of bodyguards around him. And then because people get to see the behind the scenes, for lack of a better term, so well. Like it had a lot of great jokes in and around the whole thing. But yeah, Junior Lee is like this, like in my humble opinion, really really funny stand-up comedian. He's really well done. Yeah, I forget the name of the show he has in he have a show in Canada right now, bouncing off himself. So he doing things. But to me the big highlight is the couple big highlights is yeah, Samson Judd. Samson had some funny damn moments
Okay,
there.
that
Uh,
I didn't see up to there. Well, if you
right.
don't mind me asking, because
Sam,
right,
Samson was pretty early. So I didn't
okay,
watch the whole thing, but I could give you a little like highlights.
yeah,
But like where
yeah,
he
yes,
was
please,
in
yes.
yeah, he basically started. Well, he started effectively at St. James, and then so it was St. James. I think he went into. He didn't go up to IMAX. I don't think so, but he went into where Island Bear was. I think so. That is where they were. I think, and
Right, right.
Island Bear was so Samson there, but Samson kind of came kind of semi in character. That was funny because he did two bits. Just and the whole purpose of that is just to make your own bit for you. So Samson did two kind of jokes. He did one joke involving a meme, right? And it's one of the funniest iShowSpeed memes ever. That is when he was trying to try to not laugh, and his face becomes like a meme. Like look it up, you'll know what it is. Like
Okay,
it's him like folding his face in such a way where he's trying to stop himself from laughing because a guy it had a boy on the stream and the boy was like trying to beg Speed for I forget what it was, he was playing Fortnite or something. And he was like, my mama's kind of homeless. And Speed just could not like try to not laugh now. And it is a classic internet moment. That shit
hmm.
was funny as hell first time I see that. And everybody was like yelling at him. It's like, hey man, you trying to laugh, you trying to stop him laughing. And then, that was funny. So what Samson did is that Samson's face, he straight up replicated the face. Like his face was looking exactly like Speed face in the moment. He tried to get the moment. And then
Okay.
Speed just turned to him and and Speed eyes just open up like, you
Mm-hmm.
serious? And like Samson totally like semi character, and Samson turned to him and watching the face now. And it's a genuinely funny moment though. It's like, all right, Samson, you cooked it. That was
Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah.
really well done.
That was
And then they
that
did the
cool.
whole running race thing. Like Samson and him trying to run, and then he blamed the pothole because a pothole in the road. I forget which road that is. That's like leading up to before walking out. Yeah, it's like all right, that's really well done. And then yeah, shout out to Junior Lee. He did a really good job with toying him, telling him what's going on. And then they had like of course he had to eat local food. He hype up
Yeah,
local food. Doubles. Big a chap usual, right? He had to do that.
yeah.
Then yeah, the big thing he went and meet Peter Minshall. Like yeah, that's what we talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't see up to that point. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But Peter Manjal, in the 90s now, and he fresh as hell. He's still sharp as hell. I'm like, wow, that
Nice.
what we talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, solid stuff. And then of course you have to do the big debate. Whose KFC is the best in the world?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
He
I
got to
know he
think.
was saying that when he was leaving, he was about to leave St. James. Like, yo,
Right.
I heard your KFC is the best. You know what I mean? So
Right,
yeah.
right. So I see it had a lot of nice little internet scuttlebutt and information about like Jamaicans complaining about we are the best KFC. So when he go to Jamaica, that gonna be the big back and forth about that. I forget the guy's name, Snacksy. I think he's like a popular thing. I'm not super familiar with him, but he brought a Bigfoot. And like I think Bigfoot is Jamaican. Like people is getting an argument of where Bigfoot is, but he's like you're talking about like snacks. And then no, the saddest moment I was like, look, I feel real bad for these runners, but like, oh, see, man on a full belly with all that TD stuff, can he still beat all in a race, boy? Like, what
Oh
the hell? Like,
wow. Hmm.
yeah, that rough, dude. Like that real rough. So, look. Somebody had a bit called Quit Track, so I think, and then it had some like really funny, like surprisingly funny gender discourse in and around the whole event. This was impressive because like people talking about how how your man you got carry you for dinner, but you got to get up to go and see iShowSpeed to run down another man, right? And that kind of funny, right? Everybody like making jokes about that and making jokes about people reacting about the things and so on. So yeah, like I thought this was a really really like surprisingly well done and really fun event though. Like genuinely funny, great reactions. There are a lot of great little cultural stuff. The steel pan moment was great. It had I forget the type of actor, but Chef Shanti dancers though. She was good. Because she like mix her thing with break dance, and I'm like, all right, she kind of cooking, she real hard, and it's all these little small things, right? And then of course the usual people. I thought I would have seen more. Like I thought I would have see what do you call him, Kyle. I didn't see Kyle there, and I thought I would have see like Zach or somebody like that. And I know I see a couple of other influencers in the background. You don't find this out there, of course. But I thought this was really surprisingly well done and really fun, for a stream. Like I sure Speed is my like I'm not a streamer fan or anything like that, but I prefer him to Mr. Beast by far. Mr. Beast way too lame and created and just trying to replicate the old world. My I should speed have the real energy in my humble opinion. So that's about it. Yeah, that's just my take. I did not expect this to be as fun as it was.
All right, now you see that energy that you brought here and all these facts that you brought out here, that is great because I want to touch on that, right? I really want to touch on that, right?
Yeah,
So this is not gonna be like a big like debate or ramble about what happened and whatnot, right? So for me, I was sort of marginally aware of what was about to happen, right? Because
right,
I just went up on YouTube just out the blue around lunchtime yesterday, right? And I just saw the live stream, so I was like, oh right, this thing was a thing. And then I went and he was now at St. James now, like with his sign
right.
and whatnot, so he was now about to leave, right? I watched a little bit of it and then I actually like moved away because I had other stuff to do, right? So before we came up here, I just sort of skimmed through the first hour of it, right? Because this is like a 5.5 hour stream, right? As I also mentioned too, what I find real amusing about this is that last weekend this man was on WrestleMania. He was in Las Vegas.
Right.
He was in a
Right,
match
right, right, right. Yeah, he
Saturday.
was just doing
Yeah,
wrestling,
he
yeah.
do his thing
Right,
and then he just jump on this thing. I'm like, wow, but to live that life,
right.
to live that
Yeah.
life, wow, right? So,
No, but he's somebody who I think could easily be like an athlete or something like that. He just doing this thing. He just tap into that, right? Because like like in I was so impressed. I know he was athletic, but I know he was like that athletic. He keep up with Noah Lyles in a race. So like,
hmm.
oh shit, like I thought it wouldn't be close now. It's like, oh no, he like actually up there though. Like I know Noah Lyles not at the best with that situation, but like still now. So it's that kind of stuff, right? But what I'm super excited for is when you go to Jamaica. Like Jamaica gonna be big.
All right,
Jamaica
all
gonna
right.
be big.
But
Like
do you
Jamaica
have
is
idea when that'll be, or I just had to go up
I don't
online
know. I don't
and
know.
look up his schedule.
It has come up in the algorithms. Here, you touch on Jamaica, blah blah blah. Normal thing.
All right.
So I don't know. But because the thing is, the other islands kind of small. That's the thing. So it's how much you're gonna do now. Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna spend one day in Trinidad, that gonna be kind of hard, right? So like it could be a few hours, or you could just not you just chill out. But Jamaica is like double our size. That's a real thing in Jamaica. Like
Yeah.
would he try to race Usain Bolt? That'll be a thing. Stuff like that, right?
Ooh, that'll be a
You
thing.
know.
That'll be a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Jamaica go come prepped, like hopefully, right? So it's like they go do the thing. So it could be, and then right now, every time you have something that kind of popular in the Caribbean, it is kind of big in Trinidad, but it is way big in Jamaica. A perfect example is Ludacris concert. Ludacris
Mm.
concert. I went to that when Ludacris came to Trinidad. Went to that. It was pretty hard. Love that. Is Ludacris, Trina, and I forget somebody else was supposed to.
Don't tell me. What is I-20?
No, I think
Not,
Nore was supposed to perform, but he canceled. I think.
oh, okay, okay.
Um, but he canceled. It was just Ludacris and Trina. And that was big. But then when Luda went Jamaica, I was like, oh, this is wild. It's like, cause
Right.
Luda was like, remember he was at the top of that point. This was right after Fast and Furious 2.
Yeah,
So
it's like early 2000s. Yeah, well,
yeah,
first half of the
it was that.
2000s. Yeah, he was
No,
on top. He
it
was
was
on top.
it was 2002. I think I was still in high school at the time.
Right.
Anyway,
Okay.
but the point is that Jamaica has almost be double the size of Trinidad and everything, literally.
Right.
So
Right.
it's that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's to bring it back to what happened, right? So not gonna stay too long on this, right? But I just wanna give my perspective on this, right? A perspective, right?
Right.
Because yes, he came and went right now. At the time of us recording this, he's in Grenada. Still probably scuba diving right now as we talking here, right? For all I know, right? But is the discourses that are taking place right now, right? I was just on X, right? Like just scrolling just a little bit before we met up here. I see even Bungie Gallon and all sailed something about it, right? It's some very interesting discourses surrounding it, right? And what I will say, as somebody who just skimmed through the first hour of it, of the live stream, right? this moment, this particular moment, is something that needs to be studied, right? For all the right reasons, because so I'll start with this. I don't think that iShowSpeed showing up here was bad or wrong for the culture or for our nation at all, right? Because for one thing, there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people, or I should say, I am aware that there are a lot of people outside of the Caribbean who have no clue. Not so much,
Right.
they probably know about Trinidad, they know the name Trinidad and Tobago, but they have no clue about who we are, what our culture, all that kind of stuff, right? And this would have been the moment where it's like, huh,
Well,
carnival. Oh,
but the thing is,
oh, okay, all these things. Yeah,
no, but
okay.
we had big people come through anyway. Like we see that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
this is not like a new thing. Like
No, no.
we call him this fellow Bourdain, right? Bourdain's thing.
Right,
Whatever. I think his last show is second. The last show was us, right? So stuff like that, right? So it's like it's just whatever. Now. We'll show up here, meet the moment, and we survive, right?
right.
And yeah, so that's it. So that's I forget another real great foodie. I forget his name, and he talked about how Baker Shack is the best thing he ever tastes. And I was like, all right, Trinidad, you rate yourself with that one.
I wonder who
What
that
was that
is,
man
boy.
name, boy?
Hmm.
It's simple mind,
All
but
right.
he was like big too. And it's just that. And it's usually food tourism. It's always some. Oh no, it's another guy, another like a fella from Thailand. I want to say he came to Trinidad and you just kind of exploring Trinidadian food stuff. This stuff it usually is food tourism. It's like, oh right,
Okay.
we have some of the best food in the world, blah blah blah. And that's it. But what was interesting about this though is that one, it's such a generational thing. Like
That's what I want to bring up. But
a
you
bunch of
finish and then
like
I'll touch on that.
yeah, a bunch of like if it wasn't my quote unquote semi job kind of thing, I would have never know who this kid is. Right? Like to be
I
clear, right?
know.
It's just
Same
about
here. Hmm?
yeah, exactly. It's just about like oh right, what the kids watching and who watching what and why. And it's such a generational thing. You have a bunch of people who are all here. You can see a bunch of comments. Who is this? I have no idea who this is. So and
That
so, and
yeah,
then
that's what I want to bring up
you
too.
have a you have a hard cutoff point, and it's like boy speed boy I speed all here blah blah blah, and just a big generational divide. And yeah, this is the actual like. But like let's be clear, we now in the 21st century. You have people make jokes about this. Like if your name's if your birthday start with 19, you're done, right? Like we reach that. We have a whole let's be clear, we have a whole voting age population who have children who are born after the year 2000, right? Big celebrities year 2000 right? Which is Chase Infinity and whoever it is. So like we reach that point, and people have to start like getting serious about this. Like that is why the world changes, not just technology or AI or some bullshit like that. It's like no, we have a whole population, and this is one of these markers. A whole chunk of people who just don't know who this boy is because it's old. And it's like here's the thing, guys. Quick reference. That's a good thing,
I agree.
guys, right? We have way too much people who engage in effectively zombie culture, right? They're acting as if they're still young and there's a big 55-year-old man, talking as if, he's still like in his 20s. Like, that's one of the problems, one of the discordance with a lot of politics. Politics just would not, sorry to say it, you might have, you need to have the forest fire ever so often, right? To get rid of the old trees, right? Sorry to say it, you need that. And yeah, it's one of these, to me, it's one of those markers of nature's healing. Like this is a good thing, kind of. We could talk about stereotypes or whatever it is because, like, I admitted at that moment in KFC was probably the most blackest stereotype thing I ever watched in a while. Like, but like, let's be clear about that. But it's fine, right? It's a good moment and it's fun. And so that's it. It's just little simple things like that. Like about aging population. We can get in a big deeper debate about this, right? But yeah, it's a fresh face and fresh energy, and I like that. That's fine. Like speaking of that, as I mentioned, I thought Julia Lee was a lot older. I also thought Julia Lee was my age. No, like I think he's much younger than me. That was shocking. That was like, kind of shocking. Like, oh shit, Julia Lee actually like kind of young though. Like, oh, why are you looking so old? Whatever.
Hmm.
Moving on.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's expand on that, right? So yes, you're right, right? So yeah, there's all these discourses, right? A bunch of like Gen X's or whatnot. It's like, who's this speed fella? Who he is, boy? Why why
Right, right,
why
right.
why everything stopped for this man, boy? Look at he acting like a
Right.
fool doing this, blah blah. Who's he? Why we not showing our local, celebrities and
Right, right, right.
artists or whatnot? Why we not showing them that amount of praise and love, right? All that kind of
I
stuff,
thought,
right?
to be fair, I thought we'd have get. I thought he would have meet up with Marshall or something. I really thought he would have get that. But again, Marshall is for Gen Xers and millennials. Marshall is old. Let's be clear about that. You need to stop it. Cater to younger people, please. So, like, I suppose that's a good thing. It's only like the real classics, like Peter Minchell or whoever it is, who's like a classic upon classic. So, if this fellow was still alive, you'd probably meet him. Going to play right. Chukong. Something like that, maybe. Right? So, is that. Yeah, but enough. Like, you could leave space for the younger ones. It's fine.
So yeah, so what I want to bring to the table here, right? Like I don't want to get into these debates and agree or disagree with people, right? People have their perspective on it, right? Now I will confess to somebody, I was not familiar with iShowSpeed until he showed up in what is Royal Rumble, when was it? Last year I believe it was, right? But it's just that even WWE and to extent TKO was like, oh, this guy is popular. We want him to
Right.
be in WrestleMania, and then like the dude do
Well,
like a body slam. Sorry, he
right,
do a frog splash basically on Logan Paul of all people. Was it Logan Paul
right,
or was it oh
right. One
gosh,
of them.
yeah, well, you're one of them, right? I'm forgetting.
I don't watch too much of that because this guy he Kaisenat came to WWE. I remember last year or sometime a few months ago. I think because right before he kind of quit because he kind of quit and kind of disappeared to do some real world soul searching apparently. I know what's going on with there, but he was going to be like commentary because that could be the thing. I don't expect them to be wrestlers, but I expect them to be solid commentary. In their own right now. That could work. Like just to keep WWE fresh now, how to keep things fresh. Same with like Las Vegas. Like Las Vegas dying and it dying for like oh yeah it's just a bunch of old people like no you need to evolve gambling if you want to keep gambling alive you have to evolve it in a more interesting space and put it in its right place because what happening with gambling is that it's kind of a metastasized cancer right now right let's be clear about that stuff like that like, it's just how to containment so yeah I don't know what you will think though
All right. Well. It's a good thing I bring up that now as before I get to my point, right? Because yeah, the recent WrestleMania and last year's one was took place in Las Vegas, right? So look at that, right? Yeah. So the point I want to make is right before we divert into other things, right? Is that how I see this situation, how I see this thing, right? I think this is a great thing, right? Because it shows that when like we like okay like this is a reminder folks believe it or not that we are still part of a global village, right? I know that we feel like we are excluded from conversations when it comes to music and culture and food and lifestyle whatnot,
right
right? But the mere fact that I mean yes it is part of a tour, I understand that, right? Yes, but this was live streamed though. That means that many fans, especially Gen Zers all over the world, tune into this, right? So
right
it was
well
cool.
name Gen Z as alphas
Yeah,
like even young
Alphas as well too, right? So
right
yes, it was really
yeah
cool, even though it make for some laughable and kind of cringy moments. Yeah, where you see like a
right
bunch of youngsters coming up like, "I show speed, yeah, let me get a picture with you. I
yeah
show speed." There's a moment.
right I saw
I
that
just see this moment. I see this moment, right? It had right. So it had this kid, this girl who give a kurma. It's like, what's this? Kurma, and what's it made of? It's like flour, and what I mean, like that was kind of interesting, right? But it had this one
right
guy who had two packs a Bigfoot, and he gave him
right
one,
right
like he take,
nice nice
yeah,
nice actually yeah nice
okay,
taxi
so right, okay, so he is he's an influencer, right? Right, yeah,
yeah. No, but like he get like it had the local like it's local. It's people I know, I know their face, like not for them. It's
right,
like oh yeah, he's a talent and he's a talent. I know him. Like
okay,
it's they find this healthy. They find this healthy.
all right,
Like
well,
the magician, the guy who's a magician, he was pretty impressive. He came, he do
um,
a trick with the rabbit.
oh gosh, what's his
I forget his name.
name?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry if I forgot your name, but I know who you talk about, right? I know,
He's a local illusionist. He's very skilled.
yeah. But okay, but it's just that moment with the Bigfoot and how he just kind of he just left him with the packs too. I cringe at that, but I laugh at the same time too. And last point, it had this one fella like as there was like like as they were leaving 129 Woodbrook Yard, which by the way, when I'm at work, that's where I go to buy food, right? That spot where he
Right.
was at, right? Yeah, some fella asked him for a picture. I like he like okay, like he pull him
Right.
up, he get a little pose, and he asks him for a picture again, and yeah, I should speed just
Yeah.
walk past, like bro,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
listen,
It it
it not
it.
about that, you know. I work
No,
with that timetable here,
exactly.
Adrian. It's not about you, bro. I'm
Exactly.
sorry, right? But the
No,
point,
it had a couple of moments. It had a couple of moments. There were a couple of influencers who's like, I forget. It's like I feel a little bad for Julia Lee too. It's like I'm just a young influencer. Want to see you? And he's like, who? And it's like some fella who just come and like, all right, well, where the fries? That was funny.
yeah.
It's like it's funny to him, but it's sadly at the expense of people. So it's like, all right,
Exactly. And another
yeah,
interesting aspect about it too, as a speed through things, right, is yeah, just how foreigners and we're speaking as Trinidadians here, folks, right? How foreigners view us, how they view our culture, our lifestyle, right? 'Cause- so there's a great moment where Junior Lee talking about carnival. He's saying carnival. And
right,
I show speeds like, you mean carnival? No, carnival. They say carnival. You mean carnival?
Yeah.
It's carnival.
Yeah.
Oh, carnival, right? That was a great moment, though. It's funny.
Yeah.
It kind of cringe,
Yeah.
but it's funny. But again, it's how foreigners look at us. Like, we
But
speak, we
yeah,
have our own slang, our own
right.
dialect, that kind of thing. No. So, it will take a while for them to understand what we're saying, right? But,
But
we
yeah,
know this stuff because we born into it, right? So it's like that. But I'll
but
make my
why
point,
why the
but
whole thing works?
you see what you have to say, and then I'll make my point. Go on.
Yeah, no, why the whole thing works is because yeah, there's a correlation to the whole thing, but there's a great like natural awkwardness that you can't fake, and that is why it works because he's
Yes.
so like happenstance and he arbitrary in that way, But at the same time, yeah, it's very heavily curated, we know. But like he nails that. Like he had to play football for a little while. That was kind of funny.
Mm.
Like okay, that's kind of interesting. But obviously you get like okay, you're gonna have a little sweat,
Yeah.
but like you're gonna play with the captain of the football team. Like come on, like
Right.
that's not gonna happen, right? But stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a really well done event. And as a stream, yeah, this is how you know how to do it. Like this is how it really really works in that context. It's solid stuff.
Exactly. And
Really solid
the
stuff.
last
Right.
point where I stopped off at before I make my point is where he went by that mass camp and he had to learn how to
Right.
whine. That was where I stopped off
Right.
at. That's a moment
Right.
right there, right? So the point I want to
Right.
make is, right? So you see how you're bringing up local influences and stuff like that, right? So quick little story time, right? I'll get to my point. One day, right? I was in a taxi, right? And I was in this taxi before, right? So we were just sort of rapping, right? We were just talking a little bit, right? And then, I just sort of ended the conversation by saying, thanks for the words of wisdom, right? And then she
Right.
eventually met me, a time afterwards and tell me, thank you for saying that, right? Because she revealed to me that she actually has a YouTube channel and, she wasn't sure whether she should go about it with it again. And thanks to me saying this now, it gave her the inspiration to keep going, right? So shout out to the Trini naturalist. Her name is Denise. She's a taxi driver by day, but she also used to work at the Asa Wright Nature Center as well too, right? So she knows a
Right.
lot about nature.
I
She
think
runs into people.
I think I came across it.
Oh, okay. Well, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
met her in Arima, So, and there's a video that she put out basically saying why she started back the channel, and she even shouted me out too. I was like, hey, thank you very much, right? So
Right.
it's like that, right? But the point again that with this folks, right, is that if a guy like iShowSpeed could be so influential, right? Be so appealing and charming to, a lot of like Americans and, just North Americans, British people, just people around the world, right? We could have that for ourselves too, right? So like for me, I'm not familiar with a huge chunk of influencers here, right? That's just because I am more on YouTube and IG than, TikTok and X, right? So I wouldn't know these guys, right? But I have to do my homework and follow up on these guys. I know that I'll enjoy their content, right? But the mere fact that, WWE knows who iShowSpeed is, right? Are willing to work with him, right? Or have him work with them,
Oh,
right? To
yeah,
help
like,
push
yeah,
their brand.
yeah, pretty big.
Right.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is what I think that we need to do. So the point I'm getting at is, right? So you see how this particular moment shone a light on us, on our culture, on who we are, right? On the one hand, I could say, we did all this stuff with the steel pan and the mass camp and all these things because he was there. But other than that, on a Saturday, you wouldn't even see or hear these things, right? I can make that argument, right? But at the same time, we could continue on to push our culture, not just for when foreigners come down, not just for when influencers come down, right? But just that when people who are not familiar with our culture at all and who would run into our culture through influencers, right, outside of our country, come down here now, they expect to see these same things. They expect that when they touch down to 129 Woodbrook Yard, for example, they're gonna hear soca. And to be fair, you hear soca when you go there, right? Not all the
Right.
time, but you hear there, right? We should continue to push our culture throughout the year, not just wait for when, a son or daughter of the soil come back home or when an influencer just touch down out to the blue, right? We should be pushing this thing all the time. I'm not saying that we ought to be blasting soca to the heavens every single day, right? But it just have to be there, right? So the culture is always there. So we're always ready for whoever shows up. It's not like, oh, we need to get this thing ready. We need to get the shift shanty dances, all that kind of stuff. We always ready because we always pushing the culture. Not forcing down our throats, mind you, but it's always there, right? And then secondly, just going back to what I was saying though, the influencers. We need to shine a bigger light on the influencers, whether it's, sponsors or, companies or whatnot. Get these people involved. And in the
Yeah, yeah,
process of that, one last point, and I am just speaking as a content creator, right? That will hopefully inspire other people who just want to have an outlet to just speak their mind. You see how we was talking about video games and trailers, right? We're not from the States, So it's not like, oh, we shouldn't talk about these things because we're not from America. We don't live near to Hollywood, but we love these things and we have every right as any to talk about these things, right? Not saying that people should sponsor us because we're talking about video games and trailers, right? But there are people in Trinidad who want to talk about these things, who want to express themselves, who want to travel the world, who want to go to different places and shine a light on what's going on there. Because that's what Denise is doing through her channel as well, too, right? Sure, she doesn't have the numbers like iShowSpeed or the, all that kind of stuff. But it's just that passion to just be like, hey, this is what we have here. Hey, this is what I'm into. I want to express myself. And that's what iShowSpeed did. And that's how he is successful. And he is able to tour the globe and do what it is he's doing, right? Yeah, deep down inside, all these kids who run into me yesterday, time of us recording this, want to do what he is doing in some way, shape, or form. I want to do what he is doing, right? Even though I'm not familiar with his work, right? I want to do to extent like what Certified Samson, these guys are doing, right? But it's just more awareness, right? So that's the point. More awareness on our creators, on our influencers, and our culture as well too, right? So, people outside of our country be like, hey, Trinidad, I want to go there because I can meet this person, I can meet this influencer, I can go to this place where he or she recommend me to, all these kind of things, right? So that's the point I want to make, right? So as we wrap up here, so agree to disagree?
Yeah, Matthew, can I tell you that like 5 years ago? Like, we already do this. We have algorithms for this. Like we're doing
I
this.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get my point. You get my point, right? So
Yeah.
as I wrap up here, right? So I don't plan on watching the entirety of the stream, but I will like
Right.
watch and just pick out certain moments, right? I don't know how things are gonna play out for this week at the time of us recording this. There will be people who will criticize us, like, oh, who's this young kid coming and trying to whine,
Right.
what are you trying to do, and blah 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 about we culture, blah blah, all that kind of stuff, acting as if we should hold on to this and not allow the rest of the world to even consume it, right? I know there'll be people like that, right? But it's just the idea that the world could stop and take notice of who we are and what it is we're doing. And most importantly, that there are people who want to do what iShowSpeed and other people are doing as well. They are doing their things and, they should be, they should get a little shine as well too, right? So that's my point, right? But yeah, any last words on, just him being... Just him showing up and doing what it is he did and how you think, we should respond to that going forward.
No, yeah, it was a vibe. Whoever showed up, took the opportunity. My thing was shout out to Samson and Junior Lee in particular. They do their thing. They come in. Listen. Samson has been really putting out some really, really good content consistently for the past 2, 3, 4 years now. Like you have this running arc with Simidi Trini right now, really funny stuff, and it's just in that works. They make it work. I get the feeling that it's a lot of behind the scenes people still moving around and a lot of movements and shakers that don't need to be in front of the screen, right? So we'll talk about that, right? So that's it. I just had a lot of fun with this one. I just worried that we would have been a little more embarrassing and it wasn't so bad. I thought one moment I was kind of cringe with the Blue Devils. That could have do a little better.
Oh,
But it's fine.
I saw like a screenshot of it, but I don't know what happened.
Right.
I just saw one moment
Yeah.
where he was eyeing down a blue devil. I was like,
Right.
I wonder what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that. But yeah, I just thought this was a pretty good one. This wasn't so bad at all. I didn't think, as I say, it could have been worse. So it was, props to everybody who was involved at getting it, especially Junior Lee. He really did a good job, in my opinion. Yeah, you did it, guys. Well done.
Yeah, and lastly, shout out to iShowSpeed security team, Jed. Because boy,
Yes, very good
a
team.
lot
Because
of
where he
weirdos,
was,
a lot of
where he was,
creeps, a lot of
they
hey,
could have get wine,
a
right?
lot of hey, let me get money now, let me get
Right.
selfie now. Coulda
Yeah.
just fuck everything up so bad, boy. But
Right.
yeah, shout
Right.
out to that man, security team, boy.
But it was Nelson Street they was on. um, which street was where he was on the car? The first.
I think it was Nelson Street. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, yeah. I mean, it's Nelson Street, so
yeah.
I mean, we know Nelson Street. Like, all right, so it's that. So yeah, all right. But anyway, I ultimately was very happy with this. Really well done.
Yeah, definitely. This is one that gonna be tuning in for a good while. You know what I mean? Just to get a
Right.
little inspiration and whatnot. And yeah, that's it.